Alon, were you like me last night, staying up late watching San Jose State, Washington State go to triple overtime? Was it triple overtime? Yeah, it was.
I didn't watch it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
God. There's nothing like a good CW college game on a Friday night, I tell you.
So that is why I didn't watch it, because it was on the CW, and I was like, I don't even know if I get the CW.
Yeah, I didn't even know college football was on the CW, and then I got home last night from Steven's wedding party, pre-wedding party, and then got home and I saw everybody tweeting about the San Jose State Washington State game. I was texting Scott and I was like, dude, what's going on with this game? He's like, dude, I can't talk right now. My heart's thumping. And I'm like, Jesus, this game's going crazy right now. So I turned it on and they were in the second overtime. I was like, Jesus, it's in the 50s.
Well, so the thing was, so Washington State ends up winning, but was it a good, like a really good game, or was it just?
It was just an entertaining game
at the end.
I mean, I think you and I are both in the same boat. When I don't like a lot of high scoring. Like, to me, that's not good football. Like, there are moments, like I think you were with us the night when the Rams and Chiefs were scoring in the 50s. Remember that game on Monday Night Football?
Yeah, so that was the game I was gonna reference. I can only handle
that was good football. Yeah, that was good football. But there are moments like there's tons of college games where there's scores like that where I'm like, oh God, like where's the defense?
There's not.
But I mean, it was fun last night. Was it good football? No, but it was entertaining.
And so Washington State had to go for 2 in the second overtime. And then,
yes, and they got it in Washington, and San Jose State did not get it. So our guy Alexander Scott was crestfallen.
Yeah. Well, Scott, it's okay. Hey, at least he's got. Oh, was he there?
No,
because it was in Washington State.
It was Washington State. No.
Yeah,
he's no. Scott goes to every San Jose State game.
Yeah, he's got season tickets.
He does, but now he's overtaken. Cody Elias is the real mayor of San Jose. I always like to say that because that pisses him off because Cody's not from San Jose.
He's the real mayor. Yeah. So he's transplanted himself.
Well, I always do that. I'm like, well, Cody's the real mayor of San Jose. You're just a poser. And he's like, I fucking lived here, man. I lived here my whole life.
I love it.
What's going on, everybody? Just your opinion, man. Steven's out today. It is a big day for our little Stephen Langford. He's becoming a man. He's getting married today, and I'm going over to the chapel. He's not getting married at chapel, but I'm going over later today to see him get married. It's going to be a great time. Alon, I'm sorry you can't be there.
No.
A lot of our old friends are coming out. 95 7 days. I saw our guy Joe Spadoni last night. He was talking about you doing the old Raider pregame shows.
Oh yeah, I love Joe. Shout out Joe Spadoni.
Yep. Who else did I see? Well, I'm going to see Steiny today. I'm going to see Lucas Alexander. Trying to think of everybody else we used to work with back in the day. Well, anyway, all the old faces and names: Elena, Jacob, all of our good friends. And actually, Brian Ratto just called me, and it's always a mystery if he's going to show up or not to an event. But yeah,
when you said Ratto, I was wondering Ray Ratto. Wow.
No.
That's a big get for a wedding.
Ray Ratto Ray Ratto was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he didn't even know that Steven was getting married because he loves to make the riff of you don't date much, do you? And Steven threw it up. No, I'm getting married, and Ratto was like, well, shit, that's the first time that joke didn't work on somebody.
Ratto's so good.
No, I love.
Great.
But yeah, no, our good buddy Brian Ratto will be there. So yeah, dude, I saw Jesse and Steven last night, and you'll be with me for the next 2 episodes, and then some time after that because Steven's gonna go on his honeymoon. I think he's going to Italy, which is nice, huh?
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't be more happy for Steven, so I can't wait for that later today. But you and I are gonna talk some football.
Oh yeah.
And real quick, did you watch any college football last night? Because there were some interesting outcomes.
I didn't watch any of the games last night. I was caught up with more schoolwork, actually, to be honest.
Don't blame you. I caught a little bit of Nebraska, Illinois. What do you think of this? What's his name? The quarterback for Nebraska?
That was the marquee one. The QB for Nebraska. I should know that.
Raiola, or he's the. I mean, let's be real. He's the Patrick Mahomes wannabe.
Is that what you think? Yeah, Raiola. Yeah.
He plays like Mahomes. He looks like Mahomes. He does the mannerisms like Mahomes. Before the game, he's doing all that shit.
And the same hairstyle too.
Same hairstyle. Yeah. I saw him in an interview recently just be like, I like Mahomes, but I mean, I'm not trying to be him. It's like, dude, you're copying his whole style.
The
I watched a
Mahomes
little bit of that
stand.
game. Illinois looks pretty good, but I mean, it's hard to tell. You and I are actually going to go through some college football QBs because we both were impressed with Gardner Minshew last week, but I still think we can agree that the long-term goals for the Raiders are to draft a pretty good college quarterback. And there's a lot of good ones to choose from today. So we'll go through them. I got a top 10 list of the best college quarterbacks in football, and you know college way better than me, Alon. So we'll go through them. But yeah, man, we will go through our picks for week 3. We will evaluate the Raiders' season so far. Talk a little bit about the Niners and their injury problems right now. But real quick, before we get to any of the football, I know that you're a Dodger guy. I just want to get your opinion on Shohei's performance the other night. That a lot of people are saying it's the best hitting performance ever. I don't know about that. It was a regular season game against the Marlins. However, this guy is putting on, I mean, let's be real. Not a lot of people are into baseball these days, nationally. It's not talked about like it was when I was a kid. Shohei moves the needle. He's one of the few guys that still do that. And 3 home runs, 10 RBIs in one night. He's probably going to be the first player ever to win AL MVP and NL MVP back-to-back years. Just your thoughts on his performance the other night.
It was incredible. So I was actually like in pregame for a soccer game while that was going on. So I kind of had it on the iPad or the laptop there, but I I don't know. It was amazing because you're everyone's watching going, okay, he's going to be in the 50-50 club. Holy shit. How is he going to get this done? And then he just has this just outstanding performance where it's like, yeah, there was never a doubt. And I don't know. He's I don't know how he does it, dude. I honestly don't. And it's I will remember this, that before he ever played a game. So I was working back at 95.7 The Game, and I remember sitting in one of the production studios. There was one of the hosts was in there. I think Carl Buszczyk was in there. There were a few different people in there, and I went, this guy is the most talented player. He is the best player in Major League Baseball, and he hasn't even played yet. This was before the season started.
Right.
And a few people were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, he is that damn good. I thought he was the best. I didn't think he was going to be like, it's superseded everything I ever thought, because he's totally eclipsed what he ever did in Japan, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's just, he gets in the batter's box. I was thinking about this the other day. He could never pitch again. That's not going to happen. He's going to continue to pitch, right? But let's just say he decides to never pitch again, or they decide, it's not worth it. He's just that damn good of a hitter. You didn't have to pitch to make the Hall of Fame. He's just amazing.
No, he will pitch again. I mean, they're talking about maybe this postseason he might pitch, but that might be rushing it a little too early with his injury from a year ago.
That's the Dodgers being like, we really need you to pitch.
Yeah. Well, God, they have pitching injuries all over the place, right?
All year.
Yeah. So that might be their unfortunate demise in the playoffs, as it usually is. But and by the way, I see Tacky in the chat. Alon's a Dodger fan? Never mind, not a fan anymore. You're split. You're more A's than Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm probably like 80%. I'm way more A's. It's just, a lot of my family's Dodger fans, so I keep up with the Dodgers. Like, I definitely follow them.
And you grew up in LA quite some time. That's where the Raider allegiance and the
that's
where
that's where I'm originally from, and then spent most of my formative years in the Bay Area. But I always have a little soft spot for the Dodgers.
Gotcha.
I'm not a Giants hater either. It's like, that's why I'm not a diehard Dodgers fan, because like, obviously if I was, I would hate the Giants. I don't hate the Giants.
Yeah, no, I got you. Let's talk a little football though, man, because your passion is the Raiders, and just what do you think about this this very early season so far? They're 1-1. You and I were texting in the first half of that game, and we were both like, "This offense is putrid. This is terrible." I think I texted you after Minshew threw that interception to Marlon Humphrey, and we were like, God damn, this is bad. And Steven, we joked about it on the podcast last time, but he said at halftime, he tweeted out, they need to go to AOC in the second half here because they're not winning the game with Minshew. And Minshew was fantastic in the second half. Was unbelievable, honestly. Great performance. And the Raiders get a very shocking win. I did not think that the Ravens were going to lie down like that. I thought that they had enough time to prepare from their Thursday night loss, and now they're 0-2. And it makes you feel a little bit about the Raiders now, but we got the bad news yesterday. Malcolm Kuntz out for the year, which is just devastating because he was, kind of filling the space for Tyree Wilson, who has not performed, not lived up to his draft status. And Malcolm Kuntz has been this kind of diamond in the rough where he's put up sack numbers opposite Max Crosby, and they were kind of expecting him to be that guy, but he got hurt in training camp, and now that he just shut it down for the rest of the year. So the Raiders do need pass rush, but so far the defense has played well, and you can't be mad with 1-1 so far.
No, you can't be mad at 1-1. And, if you ask most people who follow the NFL and, more specifically, most people who follow the Raiders or Raider fans, I think a lot of people were expecting a 1-1 split. It just wasn't in that order. It was going to be, they'll probably beat the Chargers, the Chargers trying to start a whole new thing over there.
Yeah.
And then they'll lose in Baltimore. Well, you get the exact opposite of that. They lay a huge egg in LA, which that game was, if they just got this much offense, Derek, just a little bit, they have a chance to win that game and steal it for sure, even if they just play one quarter of offense. Instead, that's what they ended up doing in Baltimore. They stole a game that really for 2.5 quarters, they weren't really there. And without that Robert Spillane interception, that they don't win that game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally what'd you think of the fourth down decision? Because it's in the end, Antonio Pierce won the game, but kind of like Josh McDaniels, they're totally different, but one similarity. There is no rhyme or reason to their fourth down decisions. It's just when they feel it.
They feel it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a feel thing. When he did it, I was watching with my dad, and I turned to him, I said, this isn't so much I think he's like, oh, we need to get this, or I can get this here. Like, obviously he's thinking, let's get the ball to 17 to Devontae Adams, because that's where the ball ends up going, and we'll see what happens. Anytime you have a one-on-one matchup, you want to throw it his way. But I looked at it more as soon as when they kept it out there, I went, he's challenging the defense. He's basically telling the defense, like, if we don't get this, you have to get a turnover or else we're going to lose the game. And that's kind of ultimately what ended up happening. But yeah, I'm not sure what look. I don't think the guy follows the analytics. That doesn't bother me either.
Yeah.
But I think it's very telling that, let's say this upcoming week against Carolina, right? And say they're in a 4th and short, 4th and 1, even not 4th and 2 like this last one, and they pass the ball again. I don't mind passing the ball, but that'll really be telling in how much faith he has in the run game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much a feel thing. That's a good observation. Being similar to Josh McDaniels in that, it's like, I feel like this is a good one to go for. I feel like, this is a situation. And at that point, they were down, I think, 16-6. So it wasn't the worst decision in the world. Obviously, a field goal puts you in, touchdown and PAT, striking distance. But I don't think it matters because they won the game. But if they lost the game, say by 3 instead of winning the game by 3, everybody would be, kind of pointing fingers at Antonio Pierce. I will say this, though.
Go ahead.
Antonio Pierce and his coaching staff outcoached Harbaugh and his coaching staff.
Yes.
I mean, drastically. The challenges that the Baltimore wasted was inexcusable.
No, I agree. And the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, I think it's Zach Orr, the former linebacker now, or back in the day, but defensive coordinator now. The pass defense is not very good, so they were able to go at their corners, and Devontae Adams had a field day. Brock Bowers. What do you think about Brock Bowers so far? Because you watched him a lot. You're an Alabama guy. Brock Bowers played against Alabama quite a bit. What do you think of him as a Raider so far?
He's incredible. When Michael Mayer was drafted, because I watched him a lot at Notre Dame, and I saw him live in person when he played in the Holy War against BYU. They had that game at Allegiant, and he broke the Notre Dame tight end reception record.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this guy has got a chance to be special in the NFL. And the Raiders drafted him. I go, what? Damn. Okay, Raiders got a tight end. I think they still do in him. I think he's a very good player. But Brock Bowers is just a totally different beast. He has the route running ability of like Hunter Renfrow when Hunter Renfrow was really cooking. But he's faster. He's faster than Renfrow, and he's bigger than Renfrow. I mean, I don't know. There's no comp to him. Some people want to compare him kind of to Kelsey, like when Kelsey was younger and really doing things. And I'm like, he's different than that too. He plays more like the separation he gets. It's really incredible. He doesn't have to make these huge body up defender kind of catches. He can just create separation.
Now, his athleticism kind of reminds me a little bit of Tony Gonzalez back in the day.
Ooh, yeah, because he does move like that, and he's got that wider stride, like a longer gait. He's able to create separation.
Yeah, and I'm still expecting him to take like an end around or go at it fullback and be like a spider 2 wide banana situation that I'm sure Luke Getsy can scheme up. But he might be the second best offensive player on the team right now. I would say actually definitely he is.
Oh yeah, no, it's Devontae and then it's him. And then back to the Ravens real quick. Not that this is a Ravens podcast, but Todd Monken's their OC, right? And so he knew what Brock Bowers was going to do because he was over at Georgia before he was Baltimore. So, like, it's not like Baltimore wasn't prepared for all the things that Brock Bowers could possibly do.
Right, yeah.
And he still found free room.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, I mean, great performance, great win. We'll see if they keep it up. Did you get a little nervous when you saw that Bryce Young is getting benched and Andy Dalton's going to start?
Nervous because Dalton's playing. Not nervous, but just I was like, okay, so the Carolina is going to be somewhat competent.
Yes, they're going to be better.
They're going to be better. Yeah, they're going to be better.
But you and I both know, and Steve and I were talking about this. Actually, I was talking about it with Joe Spadoni last night when I saw him at the party. Anytime there is the backup quarterback coming in the week they play the Raiders, it always makes everyone unnervous.
Career day for that guy.
Yeah, just nervous and uneasy. I brought up the examples of Baker Mayfield on that short week coming in like a day before to be signed by the Rams and then leading a 99-yard drive to beat them.
Yeah.
And then the Jeff Saturday game, only game he won, the whole week he's like, Sam Ellinger's going to be my quarterback. And then boop, surprise, nope, it's Matt Ryan. And he beats the Raiders. I go back to when Michael Vick was benched with the Eagles and Nick Foles threw 7 touchdown passes. So, or even like it didn't.
That was the game I was thinking about, the Nick Foles game.
The Nick Foles game. Like, do you remember when thank God this happened, but do you remember the season where the Giants benched Eli Manning and Geno Smith started? And Geno Smith didn't have a bad game. If Eli had started that game, they probably would have beat the Raiders. Do you know what game I'm talking about? It was like in 2017.
Yeah, it's like a 2016, 2017. It's not 2016.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a Del Rio game, isn't it?
It was actually, yes, you're right. It was a Del Rio game. It was just too close for my comfort. But yeah, there's something about when the backups play and the Raiders just caught off guard by the new quarterback coming in. There's always just something uneasy about it.
Yeah, no, there is. The one caveat here, I would say that the Raiders do, no one's going to be surprised about what Andy Dalton does. He's been in the league a long time.
Yep.
Marvin Lewis, who is the assistant or associate head coach for the Raiders, obviously he's the guy who drafted Andy Dalton over in Cincinnati. So it's not like they shouldn't be prepared for him. But they're going to be more competent, that's for sure. They're going to play hard. Yeah. I mean, they're not happy about going 0-2 to start the season, especially the way they've started it. But these guys can't protect. It should be a field day for the linebackers and just the entire defensive front because Carolina, their offensive line, oh my gosh, they let Bryce Young get the piss beat out of them.
Yeah, no, they did. But I mean, you watched him in Alabama. What do you think about him being benched right now?
It's a good move. It could have shattered his confidence. In Carolina, it definitely could, and it probably will. But the thing is, it's like, man, I hate when teams do this. And I hate it a little bit more, obviously, because I like Bryce Young at Alabama. Did I think he was as good as Tua? No, Tua was amazing. But I thought Bryce Young was a good player because he could make all the throws and he sees the game well and stuff. But, man, he is so uncomfortable there. You can tell every snap he takes the ball when he's got to drop back. He's just – it's not even like he's expecting good things to happen. It seems like it's like, how can I make this not bad? And then it ends up being horrible because you have to have confidence to play that position. But yeah, when these teams do this, they draft the quarterback and then there's nothing else around them. And I'm not even talking about weapons. I mean like protection. There's no protection. There's no running game. You're screwed. How are you supposed to be successful? And you know, and you're not an expansion team. This isn't David Carr being drafted by the Texans,
right?
And then having a bunch of scrap heap guys on the offensive line trying to block for him. This is complete. You knew what you were going to do.
Well, I do remember the Panthers drafting Charles Cross as one of their tackles, either left or right. I'm not sure. So they did try to address the needs of the offensive line, but it's terrible. And they have not done a lot to help Bryce Young out. They try to go out and get guys like Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson, but it's just not good enough. And it is on Bryce Young. Like, I've seen multiple people on TV this week just be like, how could they do this to Bryce Young? In my opinion, is Chase Daniel had a great video posted online where he was like, "There's plays to be made. He's just not seeing the field."
Yeah,
and maybe it should have been in reverse. Maybe Andy Dalton should have started, and then when Bryce was ready, then he plays. But that's not the NFL anymore. Bryce Young is a high caliber player in college, so people want to put asses in the seats. David Tepper, man, is he a businessman? He's already talking about, like, maybe we sign Cam Newton back just in case we need somebody to be there to get people to show up to the games. I'm like, come on, dude. Cam was exciting back in the day, but you can't always go back to let's sign Cam Newton to put like it's a circus attraction. Like, that's ridiculous to me. So I think it's the right move. I'm not ruling out that Bryce Young still plays for the Carolina Panthers and starts for them later this year. That's the way it should be, honestly. It shouldn't be like everybody's like, well, you could trade Bryce Young now. I wouldn't trade him right now. Now, if they're the worst team in football and you end up with the first overall pick and you like someone better in the draft, then maybe you have that conversation. But I wouldn't trade him right now. Like, there's some people saying on, ESPN and other places that it's time to trade Bryce Young. Like, trade him to Miami so we can fill in for Tua. And I'm like, that's a waste of capital for the Dolphins. That they don't have much capital to begin with right now in cap space. So that'd be stupid to do. But yeah, I think it's the right move for Carolina, and I'm interested to see what Andy Dalton does against the Raiders, who I guess in his career, I didn't look this up, but Steven told me he's 4-0 against the Raiders in his time as Bengals QB.
4-0, he's torched the Raiders. Well, and in one of them's with the Saints as well.
Oh, that's right. Yes, a couple years ago they won 24-0.
Yeah, so shutout victory where they couldn't get past midfield for over 3.5 quarters.
Yeah, that was a terrible. I remember that game 2 years ago with Josh McDaniels. I want to ask you about the rest of the AFC West, and me and Steven, I thought, went through every game last time we did a podcast. I totally forgot to talk about the Bengals and Chiefs, which was a great game. I thought Joe Burrow looked better. That offense was moving a little bit better than the week before against the Patriots. The Chiefs got bailed out on some calls, definitely. And, I saw people like overreact to the pass interference. That was a PI call. That was a PI call, and they deserved it. They got the win. Joe Burrow fumbling the ball and returned back for a touchdown. No, I thought I think the Chiefs so far have played all right. They're 2-0. They've come away with wins, but they could have also been 0-2 very easily. The Chargers, I think, are much improved on defense. Offensively, I mean, we'll see about Justin Herbert tomorrow if he plays. He's got a high ankle sprain. But they run the ball more with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. I don't think Justin Herbert's going to put up gaudy numbers through the air anymore. I just think they're more of a old school Jim Harbaugh team. They're going to run the football and they're going to play defense. And the Broncos are going through growing pains. Bo Nix looked good in the preseason. I'm not ready to say he's a bust after 2 games, but yeah, he's struggling a little bit. But he's played 2 of the best defenses in football right now, 2-0 teams in Seattle and Pittsburgh. So just real quick, Alon, what do you think about the AFC West so far?
Obviously, the Chiefs are the cream of the crop. There's no question about that. I would say the Chargers, even though they've started the season better than the Raiders, I think they're similar levels. I actually think kind of restraining the amount of passes or constraining the amount of passes that Herbert throws is going to be to the detriment of that team one way or the other. Yes, they might win one more game because they're a little more balanced and have more defense, but that Harbaugh recipe for winning, I mean, think about how long it took him to get over the hump at Michigan, and not just over the hump of beating Ohio State, but then finally, winning in the playoff and then winning a national championship. You got to play perfect football to play that style, that ground and pound defensive style, and that's fine. But I always harp on this: the margin of error it leaves you is just very, very little. So I'm very curious. I think they're the most interesting team in the AFC because you have this all-star quarterback in Herbert who can make every throw and can dominate games if you let him sling it around. And they're totally pivoting to not having him throw 35 to 40 passes a game, and they want to be very balanced. So I want to know how that works over the course of a season for them. It could work really well, but it's Justin Herbert. That's like a freaking Ferrari you have.
Yeah.
You want to go drive that thing.
Yeah, it is an interesting situation they're in because they have the recipe for winning football, but I think in order to beat Mahomes, there's going to have to be cases where Herbert, and he's capable of doing it, to put up the gaudy numbers, to drop back and throw 50 times or 40 times in a game and put up the 300-yard passing and 4 touchdowns. And that's not really Greg Roman's, MO. It's more of a run-based oriented attack. And the quote of the week, I mean, next to Mike Tomlin saying, "You may not like the hot dog if you know all the ingredients." That was his breakdown. Like, he was asked, "So what goes into like petty game balls?" Because Russell Wilson got the game ball for beating the Denver Broncos, but he didn't play in the game. And so the reporter asked him that question, and Mike Tomlin gives a fantastic answer of, "Well, it's really none of your businesses. There are things that we do as men and as football players that get us ready for games. And I don't want the public to know about that. That might be perceived a certain way. So there are things that we do to motivate ourselves, and that's not for the public. So, you could know the ingredients of the hot dog, but you may not like it." And I think that's a fantastic way to tell the media, football is football. There's things behind closed doors that you may not like. Off on a tangent here. I remember when who was the defensive coordinator for the Saints that got busted for the bounty gates and everything? Greg Williams.
Oh, yeah, Williams.
When that came out, I understand people perceived it as like, oh my God, he's putting bounties on players. I wouldn't condone that today, but there are things that go on behind closed doors that everyone doesn't need to know about. Like, I thought the deflating of the footballs thing was overblown. There's just there's gamesmanship to be had sometimes. There is. So I love Mike Tomlin saying that. But the best quote of the week was Jim Harbaugh when he was talking about Greg Roman and how he appreciates him as a offensive coordinator. And then he goes, "I'm like Moses. I'm going to die on my staff."
Wow. That's a new one. I haven't heard that before.
And I don't even know Moses died on his staff. I
don't think that's what happened, but I like that. I think he wanted to say like he's a soldier. He's going to go out on a shield or something, but instead he said, "I'm Moses. I'm going to die on my staff."
Dude,
wow.
he is a trip, man. Like, he's way more goofy than he ever was in Michigan or even with the 49ers. Like, the goofiest thing he ever said was like the jive turkey gobblers, But now like everything's like a goofy quote. Like, he says like, "Oh, I want to be best friends with Justin Herbert. I want to wear the same shoes as him." And then the other day I saw Joey Bosa on Chris Long's podcast, the Greenlight podcast. Joey Bosa's like, "Yeah, a weird thing that coach does is he'll get in the cold tub, fully clothed." And then Chris Long's like, "Khakis, belt, the whole thing."
He just gets it. You know what? Since he's gotten older, he's just embraced the weirdo side of him.
Yeah, I kind of dig it. I like that he doesn't take himself seriously with the media, and then he's a damn good coach. I can't deny it. I still don't know what he does though. That's the one thing I don't know about Harbaugh is what exactly he doesn't call plays. He hits the shit out of his quarterback before a game. I mean, the first week when Justin Herbert was doing that, so I was like, "What are you doing?" I still don't know what he does, but he motivates his men. Same thing as kind of Antonio Pierce. It's going to be interesting. You and I have talked about Antonio Pierce and don't know how he stacks up with the rest of those coaches in the AFC West. Obviously, you have 2 Super Bowl winning coaches in Andy Reid and Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh is highly decorated in college and his accomplishments in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how Antonio Pierce is going to match up with those coaches in the long run. Got a nice win, motivated the guys last week. I'll ask you this too. They did the cigars in the in the Baltimore locker room, and that's fine. First win of the year, cool. Are we gonna do this every week though? Like they're expected to beat Carolina this week, so now you have expectations, and they're probably gonna do it because it's the first home game of the year. But after a while, me personally, the cigar stuff is getting old because then it just kind of treats then it's like, okay, regular season wins are so hard to come by, and it's good to celebrate. I get it. Like if you smoke them, if you got them, if you got cigars in the locker room, by all means. But then it just becomes a thing of like the Raiders have bigger goals than a regular season win. Like at some point, you want to start breaking those stogies for playoff wins. So at what point does it get old to you?
That's a good question about that, and like how much they celebrate the regular season wins. I think when they start winning regularly, I think that's when it changes. But until that happens, you need every little piece of motivation, every little carrot hanging off the end of the stick that you can have. So if that's something that brings the team together, you don't want to kill a good thing. But I think if they start winning consistently, which I'm not sure if they're able to do yet, but if they are able to do it, and then they do it, then yeah, I would expect to see not subdued, still celebrating, but not every game is going to be treated that way. You know what I'm saying? So, that'll be like, okay, like, hey, we ended the season and we had a good season. Let's break it out. Or we won on the road in the playoffs, or we won at home in the playoffs, whatever the case is, won a wild card. Okay, let's do that. But I think once they start, because obviously professional athletes, especially when there's good players on their roster, they expect to win, or at least have a very competitive chance to win. Otherwise, why the hell are you there?
Right.
But until you really start stacking up the wins, you don't know yet if the team can really do it. So I think that all changes. Like, for instance, if they go on a run here with this kind of, let's say, softer part of the schedule, I think we'll start to see a few changes. I think the Baltimore thing was they were still treating it as this is a big ass game. I mean, that's the MVP over there, multi-time MVP. This is a good team. This is one of the best teams in the league, regardless. Well, they were last year. This year they're starting 0-2. But yeah, I think that changes probably when the new shine of the new NFL season kind of stops and if the winning continues.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I still think it's kind of based in last year, but hopefully they kind of realize that this should be the norm, and kind of getting out of that. But, it's fun, whatever. I'm not here to kill the fun. I want to get your thoughts on the best QBs in college football right now, because I've been watching a lot more college football over the years. Always have watched it, but I never just like sit down and enjoy like a Saturday of just watching all college football. And I've done that more in recent years, and I've gotten to realize that there's really good quarterback play going on right now. And obviously, Gardner Minshew, good last week, but not the long-term answer as far as what the Raiders need a quarterback. So I want to go through some names. And, well, first I'll start off with this. Ridiculous question, I know. Should the Raiders tank the next 2 years just away from Arch Manning?
No. No. Arch Manning. Boy, is he seizing that opportunity. Good for him.
I mean, God, I asked Steven, you got any TVs at this place we're having the wedding at? And he goes, no. And I'm like, do you realize that Arch Manning's making his first start today? Do you realize that? You're being so selfish.
How many yards do you think Arch Manning's going to run for?
Run for? Who?
Because he showed he's got the wheels, wiggle,
man. I mean, that touchdown run he had last week was impressive. Fastest Manning I've ever seen. And it's so, like, I know they were playing UTSA, and I'll admit this too. Watching college football last week, Texas definitely looks different. But I'll also acknowledge they haven't played anybody spectacular. Week 1, they beat the Colorado State Buffaloes. The Rams. They beat Michigan, went into the big house and won that game. It's impressive, but Michigan's not the same team anymore. They lost a ton of NFL talent. And then last week they beat UTSA. And every play that Arch was in, it was basically just like one play, boom, touchdown.
Yeah.
One completion over the middle, that guy scores. One big run, Arch Manning just went for a 76-yard touchdown run. So they haven't been challenged yet. And Georgia was challenged by Kentucky and got away with the win. I still would put Georgia number 1 over Texas, but I'll take number 1 for right now, and we'll see how long that lasts. But Arch Manning, yeah, plays Louisiana Monroe today, and I'm expecting a big win. But I'll be checking my phone periodically to see what's going on with Arch. But he's not going to be in the NFL for quite some time. I thought maybe 2026 he's the first overall pick, but you hear, I guess Pat McAfee caught up with Peyton Manning and Eli and Cooper, and they all say that Arch is going to take his time. He's probably going to be a 4-year player, which is good. That'll be good for him. But I want to go through the other guys that are good to go possibly for next draft, and who you think is the best amongst these guys. So let's start off with a guy that has Heisman hopes. They were the number 1 team going into the season. Maybe some people believe he's the number 1 pick next season. Carson Beck with Georgia. What do you think about him?
I think Carson Beck, the reason that people like him so much is he's perceived as being like that NFL ready kind of talent. Because you can see it. He does throw the ball with anticipation. He makes some great throws. You turn on that Kentucky tape. Oh man, the first half especially.
Yeah,
it's not great. He's not taking the easier completions, and he wasn't really reading the field very well. But I mean, that's one game. I think better to look at his 2023 tape because obviously more games. But man, I was talking to my brother about this. He does look different without Brock Bowers. And I know everybody wanted Oscar Delp to be like, oh, well, we're just roll on the same way we have been at tight end if you're a Georgia fan. But there's no question that he has looked a lot different without Brock. And I'm not saying that means he's a bad player or anything. It just means that I'm not completely sold on him being the number 1 overall. And that's where a lot of people would draft him. They would draft him number 1 overall. Okay. But I think one of the things that really helps Beck is obviously being at a good program. So he's ready for the big time. He's playing against the best talent, but also he does have some good mobility to him. So he's able to take off and run and do those things. So I don't think he'll have any problems at the NFL level. My worry about him is it one of these guys who's, steady Eddie, like really good in college, and he gets in the NFL and it's just like, what's the thing that you're maximized at? It's not your physical capabilities, your physical talents, because he's not like faster than everybody, bigger than everybody. He doesn't have one thing that just really stands out. It's the fact that he just consistently made throws in 2023, and he's trying to do that here. So I always get a little worried about that because everybody is good in the NFL.
All right, what do you think about Cam Ward, the quarterback for Miami?
I like Cam Ward a lot. I think Cam Ward's a really good player. I mean, that guy, he's got a great arm. He can make every throw. I'm a big fan of Cam Ward. I think the cool thing about Cam Ward too is I think he embraces pressure. There's a lot of pressure to make that Miami program good and keep it good and get it into the playoffs. So I like him. Big fan of Cam Ward.
I'm kind of a little upset. My sister is having her engagement party in a couple weeks, so I have to go down to LA for it, and I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, congratulations to your sister.
Exactly, but simultaneously, I'm a little frustrated because Miami's coming to Cal, and I would have loved to see him up close and personal.
Oh yeah, you know what Cal likes to do now? They like to beat ACC schools.
I know they do. They got the whole Calgorithm going on right now.
Yeah, the Calgorithm.
I saw that. And they might actually host College Game Day for that game if they beat SFU today, which might be tough, but SFU's struggling big time.
When was the last time Game Day was at Cal? It had to be during the Aaron Rodgers days.
Never, actually.
Never.
They're one of 6 schools that have never had College Game Day. One of the big schools.
Wow. That would be so much fun. Be there in Berkeley for College Game Day. Oh yeah, that'd
be sweet. Saban up in in Berkeley.
Yeah, that'd be a culture shock for him.
Speaking of Alabama, Jalen Milroe, what do you think about him?
project,
Yeah.
project player. Has some really great things about him. His speed's amazing. I think he has really two trajectories in the NFL. He can either be like Michael Vick. He throws a great deep ball and he's amazing on the run, or he could be Terrell Pryor. And that's kind of my thoughts on him. Like, I don't know, but his deep ball
So you
accuracy.
see him more. You see him more as a running quarterback.
Yes. Oh, for sure. That's one of the most dynamic parts of his game. I mean, that's what makes him dynamic is the fact that he can read everything, make a cut, and just go. And
Right.
he's, I think he's a better runner in terms of speed, at least, than Jalen Hurts ever was. Jalen Hurts is just physical, runs like a running back. But Milroe, I mean, he gets it done. He's super fast. He's got an extra gear. His deep ball accuracy paired with that, I mean, there will be certain offenses in the league that really like that. And there'll be others where it's like, man, we do need some type of intermediate or short passing game here. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do that at the next level because he hasn't really had to do it in college. But, Kalen DeBoer, yeah, if Michael Penix is any indication, we haven't seen him play in the NFL, but he consistently got better in his time under DeBoer in Washington.
Jackson Dart at Ole Miss.
My favorite. He's my favorite quarterback out of all these guys, out of all this list of 10. That dude, he just balls out, man. He's good. I think he could be really good in the NFL. That guy has no fear. He can light you up. He throws deep. He makes the intermediate throws. He's fast. He can extend plays. Like I don't know. There's something about him. And then I just kind of have a soft spot for quarterbacks that are coached by Lane Kiffin.
Really?
Yeah, but I think Jackson Dart's legit. For as an Alabama fan, the two teams that I'm like most worried about, thank God, don't have to play Ole Miss, but Ole Miss and Texas are the ones I'm most worried about in the SEC. I think Alabama's gonna beat Georgia. I'm not worried about that.
Really? Okay.
But yeah, Georgia's beat us like one time in the last 20 years. It was for a national championship, but anyway. Ole Miss, like they light you up. That's the thing I like about Jackson Dart. He plays in an offense which forces him to pass all the time. So there's no lack of tape on him throwing the ball. And he's doing it with no matter what receivers he has out there. That guy's a stud.
All right. Okay. What do you think about Miller Moss over at USC?
Miller Moss, who's the USC quarterback where Jackson Dart started out his career.
The reason I put them back to back.
Yeah. Okay. Smart. I like Miller Moss. I don't know. He's a little. He's not the quarterback I would draft. Okay. I don't think he's a first round pick. I think he's more in that third to fourth round area. Well, I don't know. You can't say that anymore because quarterbacks are flying off the shelves like they
are. Yeah.
They sound like hotcakes. So maybe second round, but I don't know. I need to see more on Miller Moss. Like really, all we have is a couple games this season and the bowl game last year.
Fair enough. Okay, what do you think about Dylan Gabriel over at Oregon?
Not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bo. He's not as good as Bo Nix. That's number one.
Right. And
for me, that's not a good indicator. Also, just everything because he's lefty. Everything's in reverse. Your whole offense is has to be switched off that. So I don't know. I respect his college game. The guy's gritty, but they've been in way too many dogfights, and part of it's because he's not making great plays sometimes.
Okay, the most polarizing QB probably in this upcoming draft, Shedeur Sanders.
Oh man, Shedeur. If I wish he wasn't at Colorado, because then I think we could really know what he is.
Yeah.
But instead, he gets this boon, this advantage of kind of being the reason that team can even be competitive. So people look to that and be like, wow, look what he's doing with that team. But then again, I'm like, yeah, his arm is not amazing. He can make good throws. Don't get me wrong. And he's pretty accurate when he's able to pass in the intermediate game. But like, he doesn't launch the ball. Like he doesn't have great velocity on his throws. His deep ball is not like, he just doesn't have that part of his game that's well developed. I don't know. I think it's also tough to evaluate him because I think over the course of his career so far at Colorado, he's been pressured on like 70% of his dropbacks.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so how do you evaluate that? The other thing is, if he goes to an NFL team and it just continues to happen, if he's a high draft pick, he goes to a bad team that obviously probably can't protect. Does he start seeing ghosts out there?
Well, one of the big things that I worry about with him is Deion's made it known that he doesn't want him going to a bad team, which
Yeah.
that's a part of Shador's. Like, he's been closely linked to the Raiders because Deion's so high profile, and he's gone on record saying, I like Antonio Pierce, and I would welcome Shador going to the Raiders. But that's going to be a big thing next year is Deion's going to be front and stage, probably, at the combine, talking to all these draft guys, going on these shows, basically doing the LeVar Ball thing with his son, and letting it be known that he's not going to certain teams, and that may turn off some teams from drafting him. Also, the other things, I understand that Shador Sanders does not have the best offensive line in football, college football, but he openly criticizes them. And believe me, there's been other quarterbacks that have done that in the past. Peyton Manning has done that. But to do that at the college level, when you're a quarterback, there's just certain things that you're going to get criticized way more than other positions. And you got to be the leader. You got to have a little more, I don't know. To call out your offensive line like you did after the Nebraska game, I thought was a little too much. And then, like, after the Colorado State game, he goes up to the opposing player and says, like, you talking all that shit on Reddit or whatever the fuck he was saying. It was gotta get over that. Like, it's too much social media mixed in with this guy's personality, which makes me kind of uneasy about him at the next level. Like, not a huge deal. I had my reservations about Caleb Williams, but he's definitely more mature than I think Shador is. But I didn't love him pushing away CJ Stroud when he was giving him advice. Or maybe that's just a moment where I got my ass kicked. I don't really feel like talking right now.
Yeah. But also, like, that's a guy that you want to emulate in CJ Stroud, who comes into the league and lights it on fire, and then you're kind of reacting that way. It's not great.
It's not great, but also I did hear their perspective. Like, Chris Long was talking about his podcast. I heard him talk about it because he kind of put himself in Caleb Williams' shoes, where Chris Long at one time was the second overall pick in a draft, and some might say he didn't live up to expectations. He had a fine career, but some people would say, like, oh, he didn't have a Hall of Fame career, and he didn't. But he also said, like, if I'm Caleb Williams, people are looking at me like I'm supposed to be CJ Stroud this year. It's not CJ Stroud's fault, but I can look to him and kind of be like, the reason that I get this amount of pressure on me is because of you. But also at the same time, that's kind of ridiculous because Caleb Williams put all this pressure on himself. He went to USC. He, won the Heisman at one time. He, is number
lived in that penthouse up there in LA.
Lived in the penthouse from Chicago. I mean, like, playing for the Chicago Bears, a very high profile team that has never had the quarterback of his stature, I should say. Like, there's going to be a lot on Caleb Williams, but I worry about that with Shador and, Eli Manning and John Elway, the shit they pulled before the draft of, I'm not going to the team with the number one pick. That was in a pre-social media era. I don't know how that's going to be perceived now with all the talk shows and everything. Like, Eli Manning went to the New York market. He went from the West Coast to the New York market. So that was easy to the East Coast media. They weren't going to kill him for that. What if it's the exact opposite with Shador not wanting to go select to the New York Giants, wants to go to the Raiders instead? He'll get ridiculed all over America.
Oh yeah.
So that's the stuff that, like, I just had my reservations with him. As far as the other quarterbacks, Garrett is a Nussmeier with
Nussmeier over at LSU.
Yeah, over at LSU. What do you think of him?
I would draft him. He would be a backup. Like, project maybe is a strong word for him because I don't know if he would ever be a starter, but I think you could draft him and try to develop him and see what you have. But he could definitely be a backup. I think that for sure. He's got a good arm. He can make a lot of throws, but man, he also
sometimes throws caution to the wind and makes some pretty bad throws too. So I need to see more consistency there. And part of me just wonders if that's because he's at LSU and they're just telling him, hey, we ride or die with you. So you got to make every play here.
Right. And lastly, from Penn State, Drew, is it Aller?
Drew Aller. Yep.
Yeah.
Same kind of boat as Nussmeier. Like, I think those are guys you can draft and not feel bad about it because you're not wasting a ton of draft capital on them. Unless somehow they have a great last 2/3 of the season here and just go off, win the Heisman, whatever the case is. But yeah, Drew Aller, kind of the same boat. Like, I think you draft him, you have a solid guy who's from a big program who's ready to go at the NFL level, at least as a backup. And then, those are the kinds of guys that to make a career in the NFL as a starter are going to have to seize their chances when they're called upon. And that's kind of difficult because the leeway that they're given, kind of the rope that they're given is not that long.
So out of all these guys I listed, who do you think would be the best quarterback for the Raiders in the future?
Ooh, that's tough. With the weapons as currently constructed, Jackson Dart, I would go with.
Jackson Dart, okay.
Carson Beck also can't really deny that with Brock Bowers being on the roster. I think most of the top end guys. Did we mention Quinn Ewers?
No, you know what? I totally forgot about. Oh, I left him off. Yes. Lastly, Quinn Ewers. Here's my thing with Quinn Ewers. I had him on the list. I forgot to bring him up because I skipped over him because you brought up Alabama and Nick Saban, so I want to get to Jalen Milroe. Quinn Ewers, I acknowledge, will probably be a first-round pick. But there are times that I've watched him at Texas where last year in that college playoff game against Washington and Michael Penix, I was like, he can't go toe for toe with him. He can't go throw for throw with him. So that's my hesitancy with him. There are times where Quinn Ewers just wows me. Like the game against Alabama last year, I was like, okay, this guy's the real deal. And then there's games against lesser opponents where I'm like, what the hell is he doing out there?
Yeah.
And I think Arch Manning will be the better quarterback when it's all said and done. However, Arch is still learning. Like there were times last week in that UTSA game where, yes, Arch Manning was amazing, but he's very raw too. Like just simple things needs to take time to work on. Quinn Ewers is ready to play right now. They can hopefully win a national championship with him. What's your evaluation of Quinn?
I like Quinn Ewers. If I was a team, I wouldn't be afraid of drafting him. I think he brings you kind of all the things that J.J. McCarthy was perceived to bring teams in last year's draft, but I think Quinn Ewers is actually a better player.
Okay.
I think he's athletic enough to get the job done when it comes in that department, and I think he's just gritty. I think he's a grinder. So I like him, but
a gritty grinder.
Yeah, GG. Out of all the he's a Gruden grinder. But out of all the quarterbacks on this list, if for the Raiders specifically, like I like Jackson Dart. I think he's the one that would be able to come in. I think, I always like to see one category where a quarterback, if you're drafting them that high, like there's got to be at least one thing that they excel at over the rest of the field. He's got exceptional aggression. He does not mind pushing the ball. Like he's not scared. I really like that about him. Milroe, from an Alabama fan perspective, what I love that I'll be like, oh, I get to root for him twice. Like this is great, but I could see that not going well. It's either going to go great or it's not going to go great. It's one of those where I think there's more room to, it's not going to be feast or famine with some of these other guys. So yeah, I mean, like it's a good list. There's going to be a lot of quarterbacks that are good. And I think, I hate to say it, but we're probably going to see a run on quarterbacks, maybe not as drastic as it was last year's draft, but probably the same thing. There's going to be 5 that go in the first round. I think that's for sure.
I mean, I listed 10, and a lot of these guys are not going to be all in the first round, but we might see more this upcoming draft.
Yeah, I could see, for instance, if Milroe keeps having the season he's having, it's going to be difficult not to draft him in the first round. Carson Beck is already a first-round lock. He could say, I'm not playing the rest of the season. I think he'd be a first-round pick.
Wow, okay. All right.
Maybe not. Maybe, but that might be hyperbole. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you could be halfway through the season and be like, I'm banged up.
Well, why do you say that?
because of what he's done over there. I mean, all they've done is win, and you're the quarterback on the best team.
But does
The
that matter
scouts
when
all
it
love
comes
you.
to okay? But like talent's sake, though, is he the best thrower of the football next to these other guys?
I don't think so.
So
But
why?
I think
So
NFL teams are comfortable with him.
I hear you.
I think they
so is
see
that
him and they could. Oh, sorry, Derek. I
no,
was
no, no,
going to say,
no.
I think they see him, they could plug him in, and at worst, their perception is he can be a game manager for us.
But is that first round talent worthy though?
These days, it probably is. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm underselling Carson Beck a little bit. Like, he can push the ball downfield. He can make all
Okay.
the throws. He throws with anticipation. I think that's one of his biggest traits is he is able to throw with anticipation.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of the JJ McCarthy effect where he won so much and there was talent there, but it was also kind of the Brock Purdy effect where this guy can just run my offense. And I think that's eventually what will happen with Kevin O'Connell with the Minnesota Vikings. If I had to pick, I would say Cam Ward with Miami. Could be a good option for the Raiders in the future. But
Great quarterback.
yeah, we'll see where he lines up and where the Raiders line up in the draft because I never loved the mentality of, well, I want to be shitty so I get a top 5 pick. But that's kind of what needs to be done in order to get good quarterbacks in the draft. So the Raiders, the biggest problem last year was they won 8 games. And that's not bad when the season's over, but it's bad when it's time to draft. And they were left with nothing when it came to quarterback after the draft.
And real quick, Derek, that's
Yeah.
why they might end up with a guy like, well, see, I think Cam Ward's going to be drafted pretty high if he keeps playing well.
Yeah.
I like Cam Ward a lot, and I'm sure a lot of scouts do too. I mean, the guy puts out great tape, but and Carson Beck's going to be gone. I think I want to be strong on this. I do undersell Carson Beck a little bit, probably because I still have the Kentucky game fresh in my mind, but there's no question that he's not NFL ready. Everybody knows he is.
Yeah, okay.
It's just a question of what he's going to do. So the Raiders, let's say they win 9 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be in that similar situation as they were last year.
Probably worse.
Probably worse. And then they're put in a position where they're going to have to trade up to get a quarterback that they actually like. And to me, when I think about that, I'm like, ooh, you hope a guy like Jackson Dart kind of flies under the radar a little bit in terms of, well, they played at Ole Miss and all Lane Kiffin schemes it up to where they're going to score 60 points a game no matter who the quarterback is. So that's kind of what I'm hoping. Otherwise, I don't know who you end up. Maybe you end up with a project player like Jalen Milroe, but I don't think they would be in contention for Carson Beck for sure, and Cam Ward probably not either. They could end up with Quinn Ewers, to be honest.
That would be interesting. That would be very interesting. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Let's say that things don't pan out well the rest of the season. Let's say that they get about 3 wins at the deadline. At what point do you start entertaining the idea of trading Davante for possibly, because if they do end up with 2 first-round picks, and I say that thinking that Davante is a great player, but some of the best wide receivers in football don't get traded for first-round picks anymore. It's very rare, actually.
And at his age.
But the Jets just might be that desperate in order to get to a Super Bowl that they would offer that. You would take that in a heartbeat. Also, with given the pass rush situation with the Raiders right now, I've heard this rumor. What about asking? Okay, we'll pay Hassan Reddick. Give us Hassan Reddick for Davante.
Michael Mayer for Hassan Reddick has also been floated out there.
No.
That's going to happen.
You want the 2 tight end set? No.
I don't know. Well, so yeah, like if the team's horrible, then you try to get as much as you can when you sell off that asset in Davante Adams as you can.
I mean, you definitely want to keep Davante after the performance he just had, but we'll see where the wins go.
Yeah, exactly. So like if the wins aren't there, they're at the trade deadline, and they're a really bad team, then yeah, you're going to try to get whatever you can out of Davante Adams. And Hassan Reddick, that would be interesting. So you get him back along with a pick, and then you have his contract. The Jets have to offset with Davante's contract. That could work, but I literally think Davante's off the table unless this team is just absolute hot garbage. And that's kind of the tough part because he really does like being here. I mean, there's no doubt about it, because if he didn't, he'd be gone.
Yeah.
So they'll have to be very bad for that to happen. In terms of Raiders pass rush, just generally, they're lucky that there's probably two guys out there on the street that they could sign and could come in and produce some pressure. Yannick Ngakoue would be one of them, and I thought the other might be Tyus Bowser. He used to play for the Ravens. He could probably rush from more of a stand-up position. He was
he's still out there? Oh, that's interesting.
It's kind of an outside linebacker player for them.
Yeah.
But Ngakoue could probably come in and give you that Malcolm Kuntz production for sure.
He probably could. Man, I've heard people say like, well, he's kind of on the undersized, scale as far as like other pass rushers available, but he has definitely had productivity in his career. They definitely do need some pass rush help, but the defense is playing well right now, so we'll see where that goes. I don't. We'll see about Devontae. He had a great performance, and if he's featured like he was last week consistently, then no, I don't think they'll trade him.
Yeah.
But if like I said, if the wins don't pile up, then maybe they need to look to that. Speaking of the Jets, I want to get your thoughts on just their game past a couple days ago on Thursday night. Aaron Rodgers looked not great the first game against the 49ers. Then he looked better against the Titans last week. And then on Thursday, I thought he played his best game as a Jet so far, and it's early in his career. He moved better. He threw better. It was the quick game, really. That touchdown throw he had to Garrett Wilson along the rope of the end zone there was beautiful. Everyone made a big deal out of him pushing Robert Saleh. I thought in the moment that was just a competitive thing of just like, fuck yeah, dude. And that's what it was. He was just like, we need a 2-touchdown lead for the defense. People read into social media shit way too much, but that's me off on a tangent. I thought that the Aaron Rodgers looked good, like kind of like his old self again on Thursday night.
Yeah, no, he did. He was much closer to Green Bay Aaron Rodgers than he has been in his time with the Jets. We'll never know what should have happened last year, obviously with the injury, but it was going to take him some time. Just you don't play live football for that long, and some people are like, oh well, is his confidence there? It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with being under fire in a real situation and
Right.
not having been able to do that in almost a year. So. Good for him. He's finally shaken off the rust. I think there will still be maybe a couple more bumps in the road because of the, let's say, limited skill weapons he has at his disposal. But in terms of him being who he is, I think he's going to get back there probably in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, and I think that he probably will never get the mobility he had again against like that he did with the Packers, because that it's going to be a different deal. I think it's going to be like Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins will be dissected the same way because of the injuries they faced a year ago with the Achilles. So I think it's going to be more so, can they find the mobility here or there? More so Rodgers. Kirk Cousins was never that type of guy. But can they get the protection they need? Morgan Moses suffered an injury, but they drafted Olu Fashanu. So they got a first-round talent to plug at the right tackle position. And the Falcons have a pretty good offensive line. So just a matter of, can these older guys with Achilles injuries stand back there and throw? And I thought that Kirk Cousins looked great on that drive against the Eagles, but so far Rodgers looks like he's kind of recovered a little bit better from the Achilles injury.
Yeah, it was just one drive for Kirk Cousins. It was a game-winning drive, but still. I agree with you. I think Aaron Rodgers, he's going to get back there. The mobility also, regardless of injury, I think still would have been on the decline just because of his advancing age.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think the Jets want to play with him like that, because think about all the hits he used to take in Green Bay.
No, definitely. I mean, with the Jets, it's just like a sliver of offense. That's all they need. They had zero offense with Zach Wilson, and now just give them 20 points and they can win the game.
Yep, they can go get it done.
I will say, who needs Hassan Reddick more right now? Probably the Jets, because they just lost Jermaine Johnson for the year with a torn Achilles. So they got 10 days to figure this out. I can't imagine Hassan Reddick's gonna sit out the whole season and pull a Le'Veon Bell here. Eventually, like, they need him.
He'll spike his career if he does that too.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be bad for him. Like, he can't go around. What was it? He was in some country just like Instagramming himself or whatever, and it was like, dude, get to work. Like, you live right there. He lives in like New Jersey.
He lives next to the facility.
Yeah, he does. He just doesn't want to show up. I think at some point, like, who cares if you want to be a long-term Jet? Just like you're going to be a free agent next year. Like, just show up, ball out, get the contract. Before we start making some picks, just your thoughts, Alon, on the 49ers injury situation. Deebo Samuel now out with a calf strain. Christian McCaffrey, we don't know when he's coming back. He's been placed on IR. And now George Kittle with a hamstring, probably not going to play tomorrow. Doubtful. Bosa, questionable. Javarius Ward, questionable. I'm not ready to say, like, oh, my God, it's 2020 all over again, and these guys are, suffering a bunch of injuries, and, what could have been is the cause of why they'll have a bad season. But kind of early for all these injuries to be happening when the goal is to win a Super Bowl.
No, it's not great. If there is one guy they have to keep healthy no matter what, it's obviously the quarterback, Brock Purdy. If there was, this is funny. We heaped so much praise on him last year, and he was outstanding and definitely warranted it. But now he's going to have to show, and he already is with the amount of passing yards that he's put up. But now he's really going to have to show that I can carry this team even when my weapons are down. I think Bosa and Ward are both going to play. I do hold out a little hope for Kittle, although hamstrings are super tough, especially for a tight end and the way he likes to play. But I don't know. I think it's going to have to be the Brock Purdy show. It's going to have to continue being that probably for the next couple of weeks, because teams are really going to be loading up the box because if they don't have to worry about Deebo and George Kittle.
Yep, and I think it's a mix of Purdy and Ayuk as far as who the pressure is going to be placed on, because you want to see Ayuk live up to the $30 million contract, and you want to see if Brock's worth it. And I hate that he has to prove it in order to get that money. Like, go and do it without your biggest weapons. So see if you're that good.
And prove it. Like, I don't know if I said it, and I don't think you're saying it either. Like,
no,
probably not the right term either. It's just kind of really solidifying the fact that he is the guy. Like, and I think he will. I think they're still one of the best teams in the NFL. I think Brock Purdy can get it done. And I'll tell you what, if he does really, really well, even with having limited weapons, that'll really be a boost to his campaign of wanting to be an MVP type player.
Yeah, it very well could. And I just wonder, he struggled last year without Deebo and McCaffrey out there. My biggest question with this game with the Rams, who can adapt better to not having their skill set guys out there? Who, obviously the Rams will be without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but does Stafford's experience give him the edge in playing without better talent than Purdy?
I think in the past I might say yes, but I don't think so. I think Purdy gets the job done, and I think I would expect to see him have one of his best if they decide to air it out. I think he will have one of the best games out of all the quarterbacks in the league, and I think he may be the best game that he's had in a while since last year.
All righty, well, let's pick some of these games, including that one, and let me switch up the music here for a little something we call wins or wangs.
These quarterbacks can't keep throwing for under 300 yards.
Let me lower the music here for you, Alon.
Yeah, no problem.
So say again what you were saying?
I was saying that these quarterbacks can't keep throwing for under 300 yards in this league right now with the way the rules are.
It is a play defense, run the football, kick field goals type of league right now in the NFL. So we'll see if it stands. Probably not. Eventually, these quarterbacks are going to start airing it out.
Only 6 teams last week, real quick, passed more than what they were expected to.
Really?
And I believe 26 of them passed less than what they were expected to. So a lot of teams are running the ball, like you said.
They are. And kicking everybody's sea bass these days now, man.
Yeah, the kickers are automatic. I heard you and Steven talking about that, I think on last episode. It's like everybody is just, 50 yards, no big deal.
Yep. All right. You you and I picked the Thursday night games. I got a 1-point lead on you because I took the under, you took the over, but we got everything else right. Let's go through the other games. So the other New York team, the New York Giants, go to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Browns are 6.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 38.5. What do you say, Alon?
So go through it again. The Browns are
6.5 point favorites. Over under 38.5.
I gotta take the Browns are not gonna cover. Browns aren't gonna cover, and I will take, you know what? I'm dying with the over. Let's go. This is the week that offense happens.
All right. But you got the Browns winning?
Yeah.
Okay. Same here. I got the Browns winning. I do see the Browns covering, though. I'm going to lay the points with them. I don't see just a lot of offense from the Giants right now. And I'm going to go under. Browns offense not scoring a lot of points. Giants offense not scoring a lot of points. Until I see otherwise, I'm sticking with that under. And then we got Bo Nix going to Tampa to take on Baker Mayfield. The Buccaneers are 6-point favorites, and the over-under is 41.5.
I think this game could be ugly, but I don't think they'll get to the total. I think Tampa covers, and Denver scores like 14, maybe 10.
All right, so you got the under going. For whatever reason, I think this is the week where Bo Nix kind of shows a little bit more.
Okay.
So I got the Bucs winning. I got the Broncos covering that 6.5, and I got the over. I think there's going to be some points scored in this game.
Okay.
I don't feel good about it, though. All right, as I turn the page, we got two quarterbacks with a lot of potential, but not living up to it right now. In moments they flash, but it hasn't been consistent enough. We got Caleb Williams, the Chicago Bears, going to Indianapolis to take on Anthony Richardson. This is basically a pick 'em. The Colts are favored by 1, and the over-under is 43.5. So basically, who do you take to win?
I take the Colts to win, even with AR. Yeah, this is like the same team playing against itself. It's you're playing against yourselves really here. You know what? And I'll take the over on that because I think both these teams are good for 3 touchdowns when faced with each other.
Yep.
So it's a pick 'em. I'm going Colts, and I'll take the over.
Yeah, no Keenan Allen for the Bears this week. I don't expect Caleb Williams to be pressured 34 times like he was a week ago. I do see some more points scored, but I got the Colts winning this game, and I'll go over on the 43.5. Then we got Green Bay going to Tennessee. Don't know yet if Jordan Love's going to play. He's kind of not rushing back, but we'll see if he's clear to play tomorrow. However, I would not be the least bit surprised if they wait one more week so Malik Willis gets like a little revenge game against the Titans. The Titans are 3-point favorites, surprisingly, at 0-2, and the Packers are 1-1. Maybe that's just not knowing who the quarterback's going to be for the Packers. And the over/under is 38.5.
Ooh, I like the Packers in this game. I'm waiting for another Will Levis meme. I'm not a Will Levis guy. It was not big on him in college either. Man puts mayo in his coffee.
Yeah,
there's too many red flags there.
Eats bananas whole.
Yeah, I'd like to see.
He's afraid of milk.
Yeah, I don't know. This is very odd. It's idiosyncratic. He could be the Woody Allen of NFL quarterbacks with all these little weird.
Jesus.
Actually, no, that's a bad. Never mind. That's bad. That's bad. No.
Old Woody Allen. I got it.
Well,
even old dad. Yeah, the whole analogy doesn't work. Keep going along.
Yeah. But I would like to see Malik Willis get in there, have like that kind of revenge game against Tennessee, but also just the way Josh Jacobs has been able to perform for Green Bay. How the hell is Tennessee going to stop him? I don't think they will.
Yeah, so I got the same thing. I got Green Bay winning. Oh, did you have the over or the under in this game?
I will take the over because the Titans are going to score. It's just a question of how many interceptions, fumbles, scoops Will Levis is going to make.
Let me ask you something. People have been mixed about this. What do you think about Brian Callahan kind of like basically calling him out in the press conferences?
He's channeling his father.
Yeah. Dude, I was saying that
who's
last
on staff.
Yes, I know. I was saying it to Steven last week. I was jokingly saying, like, yeah, Brian Callahan says Will Levis has to be the dumbest quarterback in America. I don't mind it because he's just being real. It's like, it's a dumb play. I don't think he's shattering his confidence. I think he's just being honest and being like, I told him it's a dumb play. It's a dumb play. Cost us points. Let's move on.
No, there was no way he wasn't going to be able to talk about that in some capacity in the press conference either. After the sideline camera catches him going, "What the f are you doing?"
Yes.
So
that's fair.
He doubled it was fair. You're in field goal range. Like, just take the points.
It's 2 weeks in a row where he has cost them the game. More so against the Bears, but just doing dumb shit.
Yeah, just doing dumb stuff. So
Yeah.
I agree with that. I didn't have a problem with it. And yeah, you got two Callahans in that locker room right now going, we got to be the dumbest team and quarterback in America.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Yep. I got Green Bay winning as well. If it's Jordan Love or Malik Willis, I like LaFleur as a coach more than Brian Callahan right now. I like Brian Callahan. He's scheming it up pretty well offensively, but still finding his groove with his quarterback. I got the under, though. I don't know how many points they're going to score in Green Bay, or it's games taking place in Tennessee, but I don't know how many points Green Bay is going to score if Malik Willis plays. Maybe more of a defensive-oriented game, so I don't know if it's going to be enough to take the over there. Good one here. And it got a little bit more interesting after Monday night's game. The Philadelphia Eagles going to the New Orleans Saints. Saints are 2.5-point favorites. Over-under is 41.5.
It's got to be the most anticipated game of the week. I would think. Or
Ravens Cowboys maybe.
Yeah, Ravens Cowboys. I like this game a lot. I actually think that the Eagles kind of right the ship here. And I know they're going to New Orleans super loud, and the Eagles do have they've just been so shaky. They have not been consistent this year. And they're going up against a damn good defense in New Orleans too. Like, New Orleans is playing great football. They're scoring a lot of points, and they're not letting their opponent score a lot of points. But
right.
One of those games is against Carolina. So I think the Eagles go in there, they win. So obviously they will beat the spread, and I would expect to see the under in this game.
Okay. I think that the Eagles need to be more desperate after what happened on Monday night. I would be more inclined to take the Saints here had the Eagles came away with that win. But now with what happened, there's a little more urgency on the Eagles side. And the Saints just got on top of teams quick. Like last week against the Cowboys, the Cowboys were just like shocked of what was going on there, just the deep balls they were throwing. I think that the Eagles, they just got to get something going. A pass rush, a secondary. They got to stop the run. They got to stop Alvin Kamara. I don't know why. I guess I'm not familiar with what's going on in practice. I don't know why they signed Devin White and now they're not playing him. I figured he could help out with that run defense, but maybe not. They got to slow down the game more with the running game and let Saquon kind of just dictate the time of possession. I could see the Saints. I mean, the recipe is the Saints win in a blowout because it's a short week and then the Eagles have to travel. However, for whatever reason, I'm going with the Eagles and I'm taking the over.
Yeah, and this game, I think, look, if Derek Carr has a quarterback rating around 140 again and is airing it out the way he is, shit, we're going to have to start talking about him as MVP.
Yeah, it's early on, but him, Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield are probably the three best quarterbacks in football right now.
Yeah,
very early.
When were you ever? When you got to say it now because you're never going to get to say that again.
That's true. Okay. Battle of two 2-0 teams. The Chargers go to Pittsburgh. Don't know if Justin Herbert's 100% going to play in this game, but it's leaning in that direction. He's questionable with a high ankle sprain. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 34.5, pretty low. Troy Fautanu, their first-round draft pick from Washington, I guess is going to be done for the year. It sounded like he hurt his knee in practice, so that's not good. But who are you taking in this game, Alon? But Pittsburgh favored by 3, over-under 34.5.
Yeah, this game has this is a Tomlin manufacture a win at all costs kind of game. That being said, I think this is when Harbaugh really puts a stamp on things in Charger land, and they go on the road, they win the game, and they're the first team this season to, maybe one of the few teams this season that's able to expose any kind of weakness that Pittsburgh has on defense, and there's not many. So I will take the over. That point total is so low, and I'll take the Chargers to win.
It is so low, but these offenses, if Herbert's less than 100%, and I debate whether or not you stick with Justin Fields or go back to Russell Wilson when he's healthy. There's no offense to be had right now with the Steelers, but they play great defense. They have probably the best defense in football.
Good kicker, too.
great kicker in Boswell. I'm going to go with the Steelers just because of Herbert's health. Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see the Chargers winning this game, but with health, with Herbert, I can't say I'm confident in that. So I got the Steelers winning. I'll lay the points, and I'll go under on that 34.5. I can see this being like a 16-13 game.
Yeah, I kind of see it being like 21-15-ish around that. But yeah, I don't know. It's Pittsburgh is great to watch on defense. As soon as they get the ball, you can flip the channel.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got another battle of 2-0 teams. The Houston Texans at the Minnesota Vikings. No Joe Mixon for the Texans. He's not going to make the trip to Minnesota. It's, I believe, Stephon Diggs' first time going back to Minnesota since he was traded away 4 years ago already. The Texans are 2-point favorites, and the over-under is 46.5.
Ooh, I like the under in this game. And I do like the Texans. And I like the Texans to cover, although that 2.5 or the 2 there would imply that a lot of steam is going for Minnesota.
Yeah.
I just think that Will Anderson is going to make life a living hell for Sam Darnold.
I think so, too. I think it's going to be – I think the Texans' pass rush is right now the best in football. I think that Sam Darnold has played really well, but – I think that he'll struggle against this Texans defense. He struggled at times against the Niners, but I mean, that 97-yard touchdown pass was a thing of beauty.
I think they're primed too for a letdown after that Niner win.
Yeah, and I think C.J. Stroud, he may struggle against this Viking defense too. It's no joke, but I think they get the win. I'm going with the Texans. I'll lay the points, and I'll go over on that 46.5. All right, then we got Andy Dalton filling in for the Carolina Panthers. Well, not filling in. He's the new starting quarterback. And the Raiders are home favorites at 6, and the over-under is 39.5. What do you got, Alon?
This is one of the few games where the Raiders are going to be favored this year, unless they start stacking up wins. I like the under, and I like the Raiders to cover. I think the Raiders should win this game by 2 touchdowns.
I think so, too. The pessimistic nature in me wants to take the Raiders to win, but the Panthers to cover. I can't do that. The Raiders should win this game by more than a touchdown. I got the Raiders winning. I'm going to lay the points, and I'll go under as well. I don't see a lot of offense from the Panthers in this game. The Raiders' defense should show out even with Andy Dalton as quarterback.
Yeah, no, they should. And you know what? If Gardner Minshew can play like air raid Gardner Minshew from Washington State, they should be able to score at least 3 touchdowns offensively.
All right. Okay. Then we got the Miami Dolphins going to the Seattle Seahawks. Very interesting matchup. No Tua Tagovailoa for the time being. It's going to be Skylar Thompson at quarterback. And the Seahawks are 2-0. And my prediction of them winning 3 games looks terrible right now because they could go 3-0. They have to lose the rest of their games, which probably wouldn't happen. But you never know. Seahawks are 4.5-point favorites, and the over-under is 41.5.
Give me some Seahawks. Give me some Seahawks, and give me the over.
Yeah, I was totally wrong about the Seahawks. They're better than advertised. I got Seattle winning. Just with Skylar Thompson, I got to see it. There are times, like in that playoff game against Buffalo, where he shined, but I got to see it. And he's still got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, so maybe they'll put up some points. But yeah, Seattle's defense is no joke right now. So I'm taking Seattle. I'll lay the points, and I'll go under on that 41.5.
Okay.
Then we got the Baltimore Ravens going to the Dallas Cowboys. Baltimore is really desperate, and despite being 0-2, they're favored, but just by 1 point. This is a pick'em, and the over/under is 47.5.
I hate this game. Picking it, I would if I was gambling, I would not touch it. Both teams have like everything on the line. The Cowboys coming off after being embarrassed, and really you could say it's the same for the Ravens, being embarrassed in the fourth quarter, and then also starting the if they start the season 0-3, their season is it looks really bad,
especially in that division.
Yeah. Oh man, and the game's in Dallas, right?
Games at Dallas.
Yeah. Dallas wins the game. Dallas wins. Baltimore starts 0-3, and the everybody starts getting mad at Harbaugh.
What is the over/under?
It is over.
Okay. It's at 47.5, but yeah, Alon's going over. Baltimore's a more desperate team. I'm taking Baltimore, and I'm going under on that 47.5. They got to play some defense.
It's a huge point total, but
Yep.
Dak, he's got to have a damn good game after what happened last week.
Yep. Then we got the Detroit Lions coming off a loss, and the Arizona Cardinals feeling a lot better about themselves after their 41-10 win over the Rams. The Lions are still 3-point favorites, and the over/under is a whopping 51.5.
Yeah. And that game's being played where?
Arizona.
In Arizona. Yeah, I don't know. I will watch this game for sure. I like Detroit.
Okay.
And man, that's such a huge point total, but these teams can light each other up if they want to. Yeah, give me the over. It's an over week. Offense is back. Offense is back, everybody. 300-yard passing everywhere. We're going to see that.
Yeah.
Lots of points.
I got the same thing. That the Lions need to start putting the ball in the end zone.
Yep.
They were a little passive the first 2 weeks. They won the game against the Rams, but their biggest flaw last week was they got 4.5 sacks from Aiden Hutchinson and got no offense to show for it. So they need to put the ball in the end zone a lot more. I got the Lions winning. I'm laying the points, and I'm going over.
Yeah, and Goff's mighty comfortable playing against NFC West teams.
Yep, and the Lions have had success against the Cardinals of the past few years, so I'll take the Lions to win this game. And then we got the 49ers going to the Rams, but it might be a home game. They call it Levi South. The 49ers are 6.5-point favorites. The over/under is 43.5. We know all the injuries. It's a battle of banged up teams.
Give me the Niners to cover all day. Give me the under. It's going to be tough for the Rams to score against them.
I think it's going to be tough for both teams to score. I think that Brock Purdy will find Brandon Ayuk often, but I think the Rams defense will know that. And at 0-2, I just see the Rams being a more desperate team. And I do believe, the question I posed to you, I think Stafford will be the more comfortable quarterback without having his guys as opposed to Purdy. So for that reason, and McVay able to adapt a little bit better than Shanahan at times and find a run game, and the Rams knowing that they have to stop the running game with Jordan Mason, I'm taking the Rams to win, and I'm going under on the 43.5.
Brock Purdy this week, everybody. 375 yards, 3 touchdowns, flawless passer rating.
All right, I'll hold you to that.
I'm going bold with that.
Then we got the Sun.
But I like your reasoning, Derek, because Sean McVay knows how to get it done. He's not scared to go.
Shanahan does too, but he's missing a lot of guys. A lot of guys.
I just think the Niners are so damn good.
They are. I just think it may take a week for Brock to really get in the groove without everybody there. And then we got the Chiefs and the Falcons playing on Sunday Night Football. No Isaiah Pacheco for them for the time being. He's on IR with a broken foot. They signed back Kareem Hunt to the practice squad, which for a lot of reasons is interesting. He was great with them, but we all remember what happened and why his career ended. But nevertheless, he's back. Probably going to see a lot of Samaje Perine and who's my guy, the white guy that's running the football for them now, Carson Steele.
Yeah, Carson Steele.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting with him. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites, over under 46.5.
By the way, if you type in, because I did this last night, I was watching some Carson Beck tape, and if you type in Carson on YouTube, at least in my algorithm, it wants to give me Carson Steele instead of Carson Beck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was interesting.
There's some video or some photo going around of him like tackling an alligator or something.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe that's why. I don't know, but I actually like the Falcons in this game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they will try to ground and pound and play action the hell out of the Chiefs, and I think this game is low scoring.
Okay, so you're going under.
Yep.
I got the complete opposite. I got Casey winning this game. I'm laying the points. I'm going over. I just think that the Falcons got that win last week. They're going to try to win this game. It may be that the Chiefs' offense doesn't flow as well without the running game of Isaiah Pacheco, but I just think Mahomes gets it done in Atlanta, and the Chiefs have to find ways to stop that offense of the Chiefs right now.
The Falcons have to figure out how to stop the Chiefs. Yeah.
Yes, the Falcons. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Falcons have to find it. And they had a good pass rush against the Eagles on Jalen Hurts at times, but I think the Chiefs could light it up more with the blitz than the Eagles can right now. So I think they'll get to Kirk Cousins, and it'll be a little more problematic for him than it was a week ago against the Eagles.
All right.
And then the two Monday night games. We got two Monday night games. Jacksonville at 0-2 going to Buffalo. The Bills are 5-point favorites. Over under 41 or 45.5.
I like the under here, but I like the Bills to cover.
Yeah, I mean Jacksonville's got to win.
They're a mess.
To start 0-2. I mean, we have to start thinking about Doug Peterson's job security. If they're playing any other team, I would take them here, but Buffalo, the Jaguars beat the Bills. I believe Josh Allen's 0-2 against the Jaguars in his career. He had a bad performance in Jacksonville when the other Josh Allen made life hell for him.
Okay,
and then last year they went to London and Travis Etienne ran all over him. But I think the Bills, I mean, they get pretty much a mini bye here from playing last Thursday. So I'll take the Bills to win. I'll lay the points. I do think the Jaguars score more points, so I'll go over on this one.
Got it.
And then lastly, Washington going to Cincinnati. T. Higgins is back. He's going to play in this game. The Bengals are 7-point favorites, and the over/under is 47.5.
Yeah, that's a big number, but rookie quarterback on the other side, not a very good Washington team. Give me Cincinnati to cover, and give me the under.
I'm going the exact same way. I don't see the Commanders right now. Got some offensive issues. They won the game last week, but 7 field goals. Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in your offense right now, and Cincinnati needs to get a win. So that one
needs it.
Yeah, that's an easy one to me. And there you go. That's our picks for week 3. Alon, anything else you want to bring up before we get out of here?
I hope we see. I love defense. Don't get me wrong, but I know that most people really like offense. So I hope for everybody watching the NFL tomorrow and Monday we get a lot of offense because I know that'll kind of pique people's interest. Additionally, I'm going to this cool like tailgate thing that the Raiders are doing now before every game tomorrow. Nice. It's like a 4-hour deal. It's all you can eat, all you can drink. So that should be really, really fun.
Have a great time, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So do want to say congratulations to Steven and Jesse, his soon-to-be wife. And and have fun at the wedding, Derek.
I will. I'm about to go get ready and cut a rug. And it's going to be a blast today. Can't wait. And just text me updates on how Arch looks against Louisiana Monroe. I'm not expecting a loss. I just want to know how he looks. So I'm going to miss USC, Michigan, and Tennessee and Oklahoma today, but it's all for Steven.
What song? What's your request song? Because obviously being at the wedding, you're not going to request the first song that's out there. That's for the people who get married.
I will.
Okay, you will. But what's the song that after the party starts to get going, you're like, I'm going to the DJ and I'm going to pick some songs here.
I usually go off the board because a lot of people always want to do like the routine songs you hear at weddings, whether it's like shout or like the early 2000s jams that moms like
Get Low.
Yeah, Get Low. like all the rap songs that like grandmas like. For my wedding, and I'll try to convince everybody to do this today, but it probably won't happen. At my wedding, my dream is it's just goofy enough where we could do this. Everybody gets on the dance floor and we have a big dance sequence to the theme song to Austin Powers.
Oh, that'd be great.
I would just that just the whole and everybody's just like doing the moves. That's my dream. It's just like everybody just goofs out for a second and does that song.
So you're gonna do the dry run for that at the reception tonight.
I'm going to try to become friends with the DJ, and I'm like, hey, you know, Soul Bossa Nova by Quincy Jones. You mean the Austin Powers theme song? Just play it, my man.
Yeah, you grease him up with a 20.
Yeah, I'll give him a 5. I'll give him a 5.
Okay, yeah,
Give him
five, and get him a water. And there
regardless of what songs will be played, I will dance either way. Alon, thank you always for joining me, man. We'll get you back on Tuesday nights, 7:15. Me and Alon will go through all the games, see who won in picks, and what's your hot sauce situation, Alon? What you got in the cabinet?
I got plenty. I got a lot of habanero stuff right now.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you know the deal. You watch the show.
Oh, so, and Tuesday might have to start just a couple of ticks later than 7:15.
Okay, you let me know. Whatever you gotta do, we'll tell the opiners, and they will do what we say.
Oh,
no!
Wow,
I love you guys.
You got them in line.
Damn right I do. To all of them, though, thanks for always joining us. To the Ernies, Ernie 1, Ernie 2, Skills Report, AJ Cruz, and Tackman, all joining us today. We'll see you guys back on Tuesday. Until then, Alon, say what we say on this fine program.
Oh, yeah. It's I was like, what the hell do we say? No. Anyway, that's just your opinion, man.